Do you think creativity comes from sanity or insanity? Definitely the latter. Today we're talking about the anti-productivity philosophy of true genius. Let's get our insane hats on and talk about Hunter S. Thompson, Bukowski, Nietzsche, and Bap. On your screen, we have Hunter S. Thompson, one of the most prolific writers of all time. And the thing about Hunter S. Thompson and guys like Bukowski, guys like Nietzsche, so many of these geniuses, their scribblings on napkins at 2 a.m. have beat a lifetime of academics grinding hunched over a desk. In fact, Hunter S. Thompson's drunk musings carried more depth and wit than the entire life work of many other writers and journalists and academics out there. And this is because he lived his life in a way which produced maximum insight. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. We actually see this with Friedrich Nietzsche too. It is often said that Nietzsche could say in one sentence what others couldn't say in an entire book. And his magnum opus, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, came in a very particular time in Nietzsche's life. Thus Spoke Zarathustra emerged after Nietzsche was rejected by a woman. Right? It emerged after years of chronic illness, years of teaching in schools, years of an existential crisis. And then he found this radical new health and freedom. And Nietzsche was hiking in the Alps, right? And he had this massive period of exuberance, of energy. And it said that book one of Thus Spoke Zarathustra, one of the greatest books of our time, was written in 10 days. 10 days, it poured out of him. And this shows us, right? The central argument of this video here is that creativity is non-linear. Like true genius, the kind of genius that creates your life's work or shifts your entire business or your entire relationship, your entire life trajectory. Genius, it emerges unpredictably through contrast, surrender, intensity, and great conversations. What I want to present to you today is a framework for capturing genius. And this begins at a most counterintuitive stage, and that's actually surrender. Most people here who feel like they have great potential in their soul, who want to bring forth their potential, where you should really begin is meditation. Like learning how to be patient, learning how to wait so that you don't waste years of your life working on the wrong things. My friends, so many people are working on the wrong things, and let's not do that. So surrender has been my radical intention in this recent part of my life coming to Colombia. In fact, I started this world travel thing as a surrender experiment. I see this as an opportunity to leave behind all patterns that aren't deeply in alignment with my heart and with my nature. And this might sound a little bit woo, but I deeply believe, and is my conviction, that the more I align with my deepest nature, with my dharma, the more successful I'm going to be. And this principle, this aristocratic principle of leisure and alignment, is very contrary to what we are sold by the world. Today in the world, we are sold a philosophy of work harder, of grind more, of the reason you're not successful is like people are outworking you. But the real thing is like we are disconnected from the spiritual truth. That's a very materialistic view of reality, that we just need to like put all these pieces together and then we're going to be successful. But even if you do that, you're going to hate your life because your life is not a natural extension of your soul. The whole point of what we're trying to do here is that the more that we can listen, right? The more that we can learn to listen to the great calls, the more spaciousness we can create in our life, the more we can hone in on the deepest insight therein. And this is why I think the Greeks are a great model for insight maxing. So I once did make a whole video about leisure maxing in ancient Greece, which you should go watch after this. And I could sum up this video in this one line from Charles Bukowski. He said, quote, "Today, I will walk in the sun. I will simply walk in the sun." This is coming from perhaps the greatest American poet of all time. He would just walk in the sun. And this principle, it feels so deeply counterintuitive to me because I'm very ambitious. I want to build a town with my friends. I want to build, epic projects and beautiful things into the world. But I realize I can't do it forcing myself. For so many years of my life, I have forced myself trying to escape the rat race, trying to build things. And I just got so tired. And then also it felt like, where's the innocence? Where's the youthfulness? Where's the joy in my life? I was spending all my time writing one essay, writing the next essay, making more content, building the business, X, Y, or Z. There's a million things you have to do as an entrepreneur. And it just got to the point where I'm I literally was looking at my life. What do I really enjoy? Being a content creator, it's kind of glamorous. A lot of people want to do it. But you know what it's like trying to one-up yourself every fucking week? I got to do better this week than I did last week. It's so easy to fall into this trap where I'm conforming my soul and my experiences in life into just becoming a content machine. And that's not what I enjoy doing, right? So I did make some huge changes to my creative flow about 3 months ago. And if you go look back at my videos where I went from writing really short scripted essays to doing this more longer style natural presentation, that was right at the beginning of the summer. And my views only went up. My success only went up. The less fucks I gave, the less I tried, the more successful I became. The more I tuned into what is my freaking X factor. It's how I present. It's not me hunched over trying to edit all of this text into the perfect little phrase. It's me presenting on my natural experiences and bringing all my insight to bear, in this mode of presentation. I was finding more of my authentic voice. And this is the crazy thing is the less fucks you give, the more spaciousness you give yourself, the more you surrender who you're trying to be and what you're trying to do, the more deeply successful you're going to become. So I'm no longer trying to be the next great man, to be the next great YouTuber, to fill a niche on YouTube. I'm no longer trying to manufacture viral content. I'm literally just listening and doing what comes to me. So when I wrote this script that you're looking at right now, I wrote this script after a day that I woke up and I read. And then I just moseyed around all day. I took a nap. I woke up. I meditated, and then this script poured out of my soul. Now, granted, this was after a period of 4 or 5 days of really intensive deep work on the Retribalized podcast channel, making content, building the app, all these things. But then I took a couple days off, right? I took 2 days off. And this script, it was so natural, right? There was zero strain in writing it, zero strain in the creativity. And this is the highest evidence to me that surrender as a way of life is the most superior way to live. Because when you do lead with surrender, you will find the great call, the natural inspiration. And this is what Charles Bukowski really meant when he said, don't try. What I'm saying here is to learn to lounge like a god, learn to meditate, learn to surrender until you until you have the insight to act on like a titan. Right? So lounge like a god until you act like a titan. So contrast maxing. This is why I am anti-grind set. I'm anti-grind set beyond periods of sprinting. I'm very pro spaciousness, right? I'm pro taking time. I like to take a nap every day. I like to meditate every day. I'm learning to take a day off and just do more reading. I'm learning to say no, right? But I'm also anti-balance. I am anti-therapy culture. I'm anti-being lukewarm altogether. Because in order to produce great art, you need incredible contrasts. And this comes into the second principle of this entire, system here is contrast maxing. I'm not saying surrender as a way of life does not mean being lukewarm, not at all. It means seeking crazy, wild, fun, traumatic experiences, like letting your heart roam freely, not safely. For instance, when I speak of dangerous experiences, I'm talking about my ex-girlfriends. I'm talking about my recent run-in with the Colombian cartel here in Medellin. I'm talking about scuba diving and all the horrifying things in the ocean. All of these experiences have been very, very productive and insightful in the end, and none of them have been hunched over a stuffy desk in a stuffy room trying to manufacture insight. So here's a picture of me with one of my best friends at a festival. It's so fun to go dance at Unison Festival for 5 days. And this is what I mean by contrast maxing. Like, I'm a very disciplined person, and yet I'll go to a festival and dance all night long for 5 days straight. And then I'll become a hermit for a week and write. And I'll write like a madman every single morning. But then I'll lounge with friends in the evening. And then I'll go take a trip to Colombia. I'm going to Peru next to be alone, in the mountains, in the Sacred Valley. And then I'll go, let's go to Europe and study classical art. Let's fall in love. Let's write a terrible poem. Let's break our hearts. Let's climb a mountain. Let's start a business. Let's conform ourselves to becoming a bartender, right? And then go help a struggling country like the UK stage a coup. And all the while be working on your magnum opus. Like, this is where insight comes from. It's from this deep experience of living life. Now, I realize so many people are going to hear this and be like, well, I'm not privileged enough to go travel the world or X, Y, or Z. It's like, I haven't been privileged enough to go travel the world for the last 10 years of my life. But guess what? I was doing this even when I was in Denver. I'd go to a crypto conference. I would study and write for 2 weeks straight, locked in my room. Then I would go climb some mountains with a friend before going to a festival, before getting a job as a bartender or doing carpentry for 3 or 6 months. Like, it's about how can you live your life in a way that is maximizing aura, that's maximizing energy, because this is where insight comes from. It comes from deep work and then deep play, like being alone and being social, 3 days on, 1 day off, learn and then create. The main lesson here is to bring intensity into your life, intensity and then release. So Kierkegaard, one of the great philosophers of the ages, he also did this, right? He wrote in manic bursts. He wrote whole books in weeks, and then spent months wandering Copenhagen in solitude. Same thing with Goethe, right? Goethe, after years of a bureaucratic grind, he vanished to Italy for 2 years. In Italy, he was studying like classical art. He was rejuvenating his soul. He was taking time off. He understood the principle of surrender first, right? And that leisure period unleashed Faust, Nietzsche, Goethe's magnum opus. And his most fertile artistic period came after just letting go, right? Just like being in nature. We see this all across the ages, my friends, and this is nothing new. Like, great art is not linear. It's not linear at all. It's about learning how to live in a way that's feeding your deep mind really great gold. Like, maybe you wake up and I'm not saying don't work hard. Definitely work hard on whatever project you're doing. Like, saturate the subconscious mind with really great problems, but then live in a way that lets your deep mind speak. So this is the first rule in life. The first rule in life for me is to learn to do nothing, to wait, to be patient. I've been meditating 20 minutes every day, I'm proud to announce, for a whole month now. And I've learned to be more patient in that. And the second rule of life is when you act, do so boldly, with intensity. Intensity of action is so freaking important. This is why we're not lukewarm here on this channel. We are bringing energy forward. We are letting ourselves literally go insane. As Nietzsche noted, frenzy is central to artistic creation of any kind. Like, writing this script, my friends, you would be laughing at me if you saw me writing this script in my fucking boxers, making all sorts of weird exhortations to conquering the Persians and shit like this. I'm literally insane. And I just realized the timid will never meet the gods. So here's a quote from Charles Bukowski. If you're going to try, go all the way. There's no other feeling like that. You will be alone. And you will be with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it. Do it all the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. So this saying, it's like, my friends, It's taken me 28 years to learn this. So wherever you're at in your journey is cool, but like, don't do things unless you're going to do it all out. It's like, don't do anything until you decide to act, and act with fire in your heart. And Bukowski, like himself, he'd spend all day just drinking and betting on horse races. And then in his spare moments, usually deep in the night, fire would just rip across his keyboard. And I think Charles Bukowski and a lot of these great writers like Costin Alamaru, Bukowski, Hemingway, I think a lot of them are actually pretty type B. In the sense of they were much more leisurely in life, and then they would act on the deep impulse. And I'm trying to learn this because I've been so type A most of my life. And this is where like we all need to deeply look into our own nature and learn to balance discipline with no discipline. Basically, in conclusion of that part, when discipline and contrast maxing is done correctly, right? Real creativity and insight feels like it's pouring out of you. It's pulling you forward instead of you forcing it. So this is very subtle. But what I'm encouraging you to do is get more in touch with your intuition, with what feels right. And I mean, I'm a deep feeler. I am an ENFP. Maybe for you it's different. You like really rigid schedules or whatever. But however you do it, my friends, game your life for aura. So, and this brings us to step 3 in this system, and that is just having great conversations. I don't think there's anything more joyful in my life than having a great friend like Steven that I met through my YouTube channel. He came and joined the Men's Academy. Now we're traveling the world together, building an app. Same with someone like Brennan. Same with so many of my best friends I've met through my YouTube channel, through that link in the description where you can apply to join the Men's Academy if you're one of the real ones out there. And through this process, I've been finding finally great friends to have amazing conversations with, to build things with in real life. And this is probably the fastest track to insight possible. If we look at all the great men of history, whether that's like Goethe, Nietzsche, Frederick the Great, any of them, right? What do they do all evening? They would have conversations. They would sit in salons. The ancient Greeks would sit in symposiums where they would talk about theology, politics, war, strategy, philosophy. They would debate. And like iron filings thrown into a bag, when you shake that bag together in a symposium, what happens is all the iron gets sharper, right? This is why like great friendships, symposiums, salons, these things, they manufacture insight through something called what Hegel called the dialectic. When you have an idea and your friend has an idea and you communicate and you discuss like with respect, brotherly love, but also competition, that idea births something new. It births a synthesis. And this is why I think God literally manifests through conversations. And the better conversations you have, the more insightful you become, because you learn to look at the world through many different perspectives. And other great men can challenge you on what you think, how you're thinking. And my God, like one conversation with Steven had changed my entire process on YouTube. A conversation with Brennan can ignite an entire stream of podcasts on the Retribalize, channel. And I don't mean to condense my friendships down into how I'm making content, but it's just examples of like how great conversations really do change your life. And I'm actually just getting a call right now from guys in the Men's Academy who are running a symposium. So if you do want to have the best conversations of your life and find other highly aligned men who are building incredible things, come join the Men's Academy. There's a link below to come join us. Here's us hanging out in real life. I'm looking for the killers out there. I'm looking for the people who want to build projects, build new culture with me and with us. Come join the Men's Academy, link below. So in conclusion, my friends, you can't manufacture insight bent over a desk, but you can create the conditions where it's most likely to strike. And you can do that through surrendering, like lounging like a god, learning to meditate, learning to be patient until the right ideas strike. And when the right ideas strike, acting on them with fire, with intensity, creating more contrast in your life, which is step 2, contrast maxing, and then having great conversations every evening, finding men that you can correspond with, that you can have symposiums with, that you can debate with, And I think these three things have created more insight in my life than anything else. So there's going to be a link below to a video right here that YouTube thinks you will like from my channel. Highly recommend clicking on that. And again, if you want to come join us, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, come meet your best friends, there's a link below. Peace.